result. Well done, Manchester United.
It's a Sheringham and Solskjaer has won it. Matic saved it. United again. René! A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie.
This week on United Hour, we celebrate a big win for the Reds as Rom gives Conte the blues at Old Trafford. We praise the big Belgian and our big Serbian and our big English-Scottish hybrid. We also discuss the severe negativity away in Spain, say that David De Gea is pretty good, talk wiggly lines at Huddersfield, and we preview the big game against Liverpool. Hello, welcome to United Hour, your official redcafe.net podcast on all things Manchester United. My name's Imran.
I'm Colm.
I'm Ed.
And I'm Craig.
Yep, we got a four-man podcast today. A big win against a top six opposition means that we all want to come talk about it.
Drags the glory hunters out from the woodwork.
Yeah. This is literally my first podcast in about months, but only because we won. I was just couldn't bring myself to talk about Newcastle and all that nonsense. So I'm just moving in on Craig and Ed, who we bring Craig and Ed in for the crap ones. We're just off the back of the Chelsea game at Old Trafford, a 2-1 win. Jose Mourinho getting one over Conte. United winning from going a goal down for the first time. What was it? Something like Jose's first time in ages or something.
Comebacks have really evaporated, both at Old Trafford and away. And also Chelsea very, very rarely give up a goal lead. I think they'd won. When they scored first, they'd won their last 22 games, I think, sort of April last year.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good win at Old Trafford. So first half was not looking so great, and we did go down. Craig, when we went to go down, what were your feelings on United at that point in the game? We had been quite poor. How do you think it was going?
I probably thought we were going to lose, to be honest. It's just we don't have a good history of these days anyway, like of coming back from a goal down. Because, like you said, Jose's got a poor record of it, so I did think that it wasn't going to go well for us. And obviously, the whole fact that the defending was shambolic at the time, I just thought, it's going to be another one of those days again. But obviously we managed to do it. But I was anticipating a lot of alcohol in my future after that goal, to be honest.
And then you had a lot of alcohol anyway in celebration. That was really a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think is what that's called.
There's always a lot of alcohol in your future. It just depends on the context.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you thought, Colm, that we went down because of our approach to the game. We started with a midfield three: McTominay, Matic, and Pogba. With McTominay instructed to man mark Hazard, and he would actually eventually grow into the role. But in the first 30 minutes of the game, Chelsea really were all over us.
I thought Hazard Willian just started quite well electrically, really, particularly even Willian. I thought we couldn't get near either of them. They were finding these little pockets, and it really looked like we had a man down or something like that. Like it was crazy for such a simple formation that they played. The ease with which Hazard was just able to float into space behind Morata, and McTominay for the first 30-40 minutes didn't really lay a glove on him, which is no great crime. Obviously Jose set up like that twice before, obviously when Herrera got sent off, and then when he was vindicated afterwards with the very good performance. And it was clearly a similar task given to McTominay. And I really showed an amazing show of confidence in him, which I was really pleased with. I was quite happy with the way we set up on paper, and in game it was almost, Martial was almost playing up front alongside Lukaku with Sanchez kind of in behind. I really like that. I think that three-man midfield, I think a lot lately we have been dominated in games with possession wise, and that's a real turnaround. We've turned into this total counter punching team, but we don't even really do that particularly well. And I just want to see us get a bit of a grip again. Sevilla totally dominated us, both the ball and with chances made. Huddersfield dominated us with both possession and chances created when we played them, and of course we won that game, but it's still not really an encouraging sign. So I was quite pleased to see the three-man midfield, even though, as you say, McTominay is just he's just in there to cover Hazard. But it was too open at the start, for both teams, I think, and that just favoured Chelsea more. And I think really the big difference was in the second half, or towards really after their goal, we got much more combative and much more tight. There wasn't the space there that there was in certainly the first 30 minutes, and that made a massive difference.
I don't know if you want to talk about the Chelsea goal, but it was kind of a catalogue of errors, really. Starting with Pogba losing a header and losing a shoe. Was it a shin pad or a shoe?
He lost the boot. Willian's just a fantastic player, though, isn't he? And he does well to score that goal, really. It's not easy getting it on the inside post to get against the head.
Is it not a mistake by De Gea?
It is and it isn't.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Okay, it is. But he's a brilliant player, and he's made that run all the way from his own half, his own area, to get out just outside the box and strike it so cleanly with his weaker foot, because he's a left-footed player. To beat De Gea at his near post, it's a mistake, but he's still put the powerful enough shot in.
Yeah, it's a funny one because he's kind of put it in an area that it's actually is very hard to save or very hard to do anything about. De Gea could get more behind it. You could say his positioning could be a little bit sharper, but he doesn't hit it like a bullet, and it's just in that very funny little space, sort of below his arm to the side of his ribs. You can't go with a leg. It's hard to go with an arm. You really just have to get your body behind it, and that's what he failed to do. And it's just so rare we ever have to criticise De Gea. But I actually thought he was quite shaky after that as well. I think he sort of made a mistake, and then he fumbled a few, which we just haven't seen in years. And the calf was interesting afterwards because De Gea is one of those players you can't criticise, and that's kind of fair because he has been so good and is worth so many points to us. But you can say, oh, that was a really poor piece of keeping on that one occasion, but he's still quite clearly the best keeper in the world. That's totally fine. And I think some people were sort of saying, you can't blame De Gea, he's been our best player forever. He saved us against Sevilla, blah blah blah. But you can still say that was a bad effort, really.
Everyone can have a bad day.
In his defence, Willian hit that so hard that it's one of those shots where you can hear the net.
Ping. Yeah.
Like he's absolutely, and I actually think that De Gea was expecting him to square it.
Or go to his side, like as you would be taught to. You would be say go across goal because then someone might get a tap in, or there's more space. That's the better finish. I think he just puts the foot through it. I don't think Willian knows where that ball's going really, except at the goal. But it was a great break. There was a catalogue of errors. I thought Smalling was quite lazy getting back. McTominay totally left his runner. I thought Lindelof didn't get tight enough to Hazard. I thought when Hazard was able to turn, it was far too easy, and then he was able to pick out that pass. I actually thought Lindelof was the most sinful, put it that way, because I think it's a big ask to ask McTominay to track that run in a split second. That is a lightning counter attack, and I think he needed a wee bit of help. But it was just a fantastic break, and I'm such a fan of Willian. I think he's such a good player. I was ecstatic when we were linked with him in the summer, and I was disappointed that Jose didn't manage to lure him to Old Trafford because I think he's so underrated. He's got the same amount of goals as Jesse Lingard this year, which just shows what an amazing player he is to be in that echelon of that kind of player.
Yeah, he was just running past people at will in the first half.
It was like nothing to
Not
him.
just that, but his work rate.
And he was, I don't know if anyone watched it, but against Barcelona, he was, not that this is the Willian Shed End podcast or something, but he was brilliant. He was brilliant against Barcelona, even aside from the goal.
He's a hard player to dislike. He's plays with a smile on his face. He's a quality player, works hard, does incredible skill.
Great dead ball delivery. Just a good player.
If he came to us in the summer, I'd have been delighted, but wasn't to be. We go into. I thought from that point we were definitely going to win at half time because we didn't really show any signs of life. Sanchez had that one chance where he possibly could have taken it first time, took too many touches and kind of rolled through to the keeper, and then kind of out of nowhere. We string a move together, and Lukaku finally gets his goal against the Big Six.
Yeah.
It's weird that the Big Six is like the thing now, the Big Six.
I know, because someone said, he never scores against top four, and then someone else was like, well, Chelsea are fifth. So.
That goal was huge.
It was massive, and at the end of the game, was it Shreves asked him whether it was like a monkey off his back sort of thing, and Lukaku obviously downplayed it as you would, but I think he had a bit of a smile on his face. I think it probably meant quite a bit to him. Craig on the goal, and do you feel like Lukaku will be vindicated with that? Is he? Has he been unfairly criticised for this this idea that he doesn't score in these big games?
He is. I mean, even though he doesn't really score in the big games, I do think the criticism is also unfair because he used to play for Everton, and they're not exactly a top 6 beaten side. And then with us, we tend to try not to do much against top 6 sides as well. Like since he's got to come to us because Mourinho tries to get laid back and defensive, and Lukaku hasn't obviously got the service all the time. And like even though the goal doesn't vindicate him fully, I do think that we shouldn't criticise him unless he's getting the service against the top 6.
Because he's only had 4 shots on target, I think, or something, or 4 shots in total in games against the top 6 this season. So it's not like we're serving him chances upon chances, is it?
Exactly.
I mean, broadly across the season, like Kane and Salah have been provided with like double the amount of chances that Lukaku has, not even just taken into account against the top 6. And actually, his conversion rate for the amount of chances he gets is actually as strong, if not stronger, than them. Not saying he's better or anything like that, because I think to a degree, also you make your own chances. So I think sometimes you can say he's not getting the service. I think you can also sometimes say he's not making the right runs, and that is his fault. But
it doesn't help when we're just playing across the 16-yard line, though.
Yeah.
No one's trying to run him behind or create the space for him. Pull the
no, not at all.
away.
I think that in some ways, bringing in Sanchez, though a bit of a coup, has also tripped us up a little bit because we're once again trying to redefine or figure out once again exactly how we want to play or who does what in what role. And I think that's really obvious when you watch us that there's no like plan. You watch Liverpool and you know how they're going to attack. They all know their jobs and their roles. And we don't seem to really have that. Martial flits in and out, and I thought he did very well for the goal, but that was really his only moment in the entire game.
Well, I think that's how the second goal came about, because when Lingard came on, he was making those runs and he was creating the space.
Yeah, definitely, and Lingard does that. Someone made the point on the calf that I don't think Rashford or Martial score that goal, and I don't think they do. I don't think they make the run. I don't think they have that burst. I don't think they have that predatory sense.
Yeah, but in fairness, they're also coming in from the wing,
which is different and it is harder. But Martial, wasn't on the wing. He had as many touches as sort of inside forward and right up beside Lukaku, and I think that's good. Yeah. That's where I want to see him, and I think that's why we scored the first goal. Because if Martial isn't there, and also Sanchez is probably the only other player who plays that pass as well as Martial would, because it's not actually an easy thing. It's a very clever little sideways pass, much like the little flick he gave for Lingard when he was rushing on a month or two ago. So that's where I like him. I think the wing has made him a little bit, I don't want to say lazy, but one track, certainly, in that we all know what he does. He picks up the ball quite deep, he stops and starts, he can beat anyone on an absolute sixpence, but it's a big ask and it's quite easy to kind of nullify that, whereas I think when you play him in the middle and as a support striker, although he may flit in and out of the game just the same way, you get that impact where it really matters with goals and assists,
It's fair. So yeah, we got back into the game just before the break, and then the second half came, and to be honest with you, I thought Chelsea were awful in the second half. Like for how good they were in the first, and they were quite good, especially for the first half an hour. I thought they were dreadful in the second half. Passes weren't landing. They couldn't really create any moves. Everything was dying up top with Morata, and it was to an extent in the first half, but in the second half, it really just the ball kept coming back to us, and we could form a bit of pressure on them. So for as well as we played in the second half, and I thought we did play quite well, I actually thought Chelsea basically gave us the game. I don't know if anyone agrees with me on that sentence.
I think a big part of it was you have to look at their top heavy. You look at Morata, and he was quite good in the first half making runs. Hazard and Willian were getting on the ball at will, but behind that you have Kante, Drinkwater, and Christensen was kind of pushing out. And as soon as we cut off that source, Matic had a big, his first 30 minutes I didn't think were great, but after that he was dominant in the midfield. McTominay similarly really grew into the game and became quite dominant. I actually thought Pogba played extremely well, and only by his own extremely high standards was he not quite recognised for that. I thought he was extremely good. And I thought we just choked them after that. Drinkwater, Kante, they just couldn't lay a glove on us. And then Hazard and Willian and Morata, the service they were getting then, the ability to get on the ball so easily, just totally dried up, and they lost any impact that they had.
And Mourinho has some credit. We actually changed our formation to a 4-2-2-2 almost, which which hasn't really been seen around Old Trafford for, well, ever. I can't remember us last playing such a narrow formation with basically two, McTominay and Matic, then Pogba and Lingard with Sanchez and Lukaku up front. But it actually worked quite well. Craig, is this a formation? Was this just a needs-must formation, or is this actually something we can see Mourinho adopting a bit more as it kind of worked in this game, with Valencia and Young being obviously the width that we require?
I think it probably worked because of the fact that Chelsea had done so much in the first half and tired themselves out a little bit, as well as our players growing into the game. So it worked because of that. Like, maybe it's not something we should start games with, but it's certainly something that we can finish them with.
I'm not convinced we can rely on Valencia and Young to be the width we need. I don't think Valencia is consistent enough with his crossing.
I'm still holding out hope that there's 2 new fullbacks incoming in the summer.
Yeah.
I actually thought Valencia was really good on Saturday. Nobody else did Sunday. Nobody else did.
I thought Young was quite good, but it's just
I thought he was excellent.
They're at the end, and they're not going to get any better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we need to be giving Shaw more game time.
Yeah, it's fair that Shaw possibly could have got looking over Ashley Young, because Young was not preferred in Sevilla, and we'll get to that game. And he's sort of like you thought maybe he was for that game, and then Shaw's for this game.
But no, he seems to be really
But it seems Young is the first choice, and I think a lot of people do want to see Shaw come in, and he has been quite good. But I think we have to remember that up until January, Young was one of our best players of the season.
Oh yeah.
Even if he's not quite, he's dipping a bit, but I can see why Huz is still keeping faith in him. But it would be nice to see Shaw come in a bit. But regardless of the... Oh, go on.
I just think with Shaw, you have to give him that chance. We've gone out and spent 30 million on him. Everyone can see the quality. I think he has proven something to Jose. He looks fit again. He looks sharp. He looks like the injuries, left him, and he looks like raring to go. And he had that good spell, 5 or 6 games in a row, where he really didn't let us down at all. Although, again, he didn't, perhaps unfair to expect him to come in and just be the best left back in the world, having been out for so long. But, there were issues there equally. And Young has been so good. But I just think with Young and Valencia, it's just so stopgap. They have maybe 1 season left in them, and you just look at Man City and the investment they put into their defence and their fullbacks, and how much of a big difference it can make, and you just think we really do need that. We miss the Paddy ever,
Yeah.
In fairness, City are playing Delph at left back.
Yeah, because of a Mendy injury, and he's actually done a pretty decent, apart from getting sent off the other day, but yeah. But
I don't know if he's miles better than Young or anything, but regardless. So we were pressing Chelsea. Lukaku had a fantastic scissor kick that was just tipped over the bar. Yeah. That would have been some goal if that had gone in. But he played a huge part in the goal. Ed, another Lukaku cross, seemingly our best crosser of the ball at the moment. Thoughts on the goal and thoughts as Lukaku overall. We did talk about his goal scoring, but as his general play in this game, he was the man of the match. And probably his best performance for United, would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Overall, I thought Lukaku was composed and sort of clinical in his delivery, at least with the cross. His run, especially towards the end, which took the pressure off of us, was fantastic. And I genuinely thought he was going to score that, to be honest. He looked a bit more mature, I thought, with that run, because I've been thinking about this, and in the past we've had strikers that would take the pressure off of the defence when we're in those situations towards the end of the game, and I don't think we've sort of had that recently. And I thought that run, where he pretty much took on the entire Chelsea defence on his own and got a shot away, but it didn't really do much. Did that. With regards to the goal, he knows where he'd want the ball, essentially, I think.
Yeah, and he doesn't waste time trying to float anything in. Every cross he puts in is whipped in and into a dangerous area, to meet the run kind of thing. And it really is that kind of striker's instinct about where would I want it or how quickly would I want it. It's also he just delivers it pretty much straight away. He doesn't fanny around, which is a big problem for wingers who want to do tricks. Ronaldo always had that massive issue where a striker makes a run, and if he has to stop and make another run, that run's never going to be as good as the first run. The other team gets back in, gets set, get all their centre backs up, and suddenly you're fighting a losing battle. Really, the ball has to be inch perfect. So, I think one thing strikers sometimes understand a bit better than anyone else is when to play the ball, and that's when everyone's making their first run, and he does that so well. And it's not his first great whipped in cross, but I'm such a massive fan, to be honest. I think he, for a first season at United, yes, he came from the league, so you did expect him to hit the ground running somewhat, but it's a transition at United, so it's not just as easy to say, he's going to a top 4 club, he should smash in goals. And he's 22 and 7 assists. Literally Salah and Kane are the only 2 players who have more goals and assists in the whole league. Like, in February, it's fantastic. It's not bad at all. And I know there's been patches of 5 or 6 games, and I know you have to also watch, the quality, and we have witnessed a lot of games where we've been quite lethargic in attack. And certainly, you can't just absolve him of any guilt because he's part of that unit, and at some stage he also has to do things on his own. But I do think he'll finish the season strong, and next year as well will kick on. I think this is all about him feeling more comfortable at the club, and more comfortable with his teammates, more comfortable in the shirt and with the price tag and all that kind of stuff. And just generally, you always, well, nearly always, the more a player becomes settled, the better they get. Sometimes you get complacency, and stuff like that. But normally speaking, after the first season, a player can kind of start to establish themselves, and you really hope that's when they kick on. I think that's what we're going to see with Lukaku. And I think his all-round play the last, I would say, 2 or 3 months has been brilliant, and he has been scoring regularly enough for me. I think, Lingard's our next top scorer with 13. Rashford and Martial really contributed well at the start of the season. We're up to sort of 7, 8, 9 each, but they've both basically fallen off a cliff. Sanchez has come in, and I don't think he's had any of the impact that any of us would have wanted, despite his effort and clear quality. And that's another issue, But Lukaku's the man, and Lingard, they're the two that are doing it for us. So they're at the back of the queue for criticism, as far as I'm concerned. And people who bemoan his touch and stuff like that, I just think that's a sad criticism for me.
I don't think his touch is bad anyway.
No, nor do I. Not as bad as any other top striker, because sometimes as a striker with that much pressure from centre back, it's just hard to take. Sometimes that's just going to happen. That's happened to every striker. Yes, you had your Berbatovs and your Van Persies who were particularly good, but that's really rare more than the norm.
Yeah. It's good. I'm glad you mentioned Lingard a few times, because he actually did score the goal. We've just talked about Lukaku for ages. Lingard was the guy who actually nodded it in. As you said, his 13th goal of the season. If someone had told me before this season that Lingard was going to score 13 goals, I'd call them crazy. Craig, Lingard actually proving that he's shown us he can do it from the beginning of the game this season, and also off the bench, contributing a lot. Do you think it's unfair for us to saddle Lingard with, he should do it off the bench? Should he be starting more? Now he's seemed to gone about a bit out of favour in these big games.
It depends on the game. I think against some of the bigger teams that do try and run a lot, Lingard coming off the bench is a good thing. Just like with Rashford and Martial coming off the bench, or one of them. When the team is a bit tired out, because Lingard is a player who does dart all over the place, and he does make it difficult for the other team to pick him up properly. And I think that if he comes in when they're a bit tired, that is perfect, especially against the big teams. Whereas with the smaller teams, he's got the quality there that he can do it against them from the beginning. I'm quite glad that he's doing it this season, to be honest, because I was one of those ones who did say before that he is a great squad player to have, and he's going beyond my expectations. I didn't think he would be as good as he is this year. Hopefully he continues next year as well, and it's not just a one season wonder thing.
Maybe it's a World Cup year thing. He might be crap next year.
Yeah. I mean, plus, we've all seen his girlfriend, so that's enough to make you want to play your heart out for a team, to be honest.
Big time.
I haven't.
Big time.
Am I missing out on?
No, I haven't either, actually.
I'll put it in the WhatsApp, boys, because it is something else. Jennifer Froome's on Instagram, and she's like an American sort of self-made Instagram star, I guess, basically a model. But she's amazing, absolutely amazing. And she was over at Manchester.
You just made the pod sound like a bunch of perverts on our WhatsApp group. It's actually our WhatsApp group is pretty fine. Can I just say, everybody? It's generally just us talking about the football, and football and people's jobs. That's what I was.
There is a point in there, I think, because one of the things about Lingard, first of all, I don't think his form will evaporate. I think he might not always get you that goal return, of over 15 like he probably will this season, but I think he'll always give you that kind of performance, even if the goals and assists. And I think a lot of what he does, even if you can't quantify it with goals and assists, is still very worthwhile.
Yeah.
But beyond that, and just while we're talking about his girlfriend, that he's such a personality. And I know, when he wasn't playing well, people hated that, and now when he's playing well, people love it, which is exactly the same with Pogba. It's the haircuts and the dabs and the Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And some people, really think that has no part. But, he was doing, he has a different celebration. He was doing the Black Panther Wakanda one.
The Black Panther celebration. I thought won me over with that one.
It was brilliant. It was so good. And he's very, very good on social media, which, I really personally enjoy, because we get to engage with the players that we follow on a level that you never could before. You see their lives, you see their homes, you see them chatting away, you see them at training, you see what they're like, what they don't like, what kind of music they like, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really cool.
You see them
really
in
good.
hotel rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Roy Keane would hate you.
Yeah, I know, but I do think it's good. I generally do. I think we have to move with the times, and Lingard is just such a sign of that. And I just think he must be so good in the dressing room, and you can see that the boys just love him. I just think that's really important in terms of building a team that is gonna do special things.
Yeah. So yeah, after that goal, I never actually thought we'd lose it from that point on. Weirdly,
No.
there was always a chance, but I felt quite a lot more assured than I would normally when you're 2-1 up against Chelsea. I think bringing Baye on was a good move, strengthened our backline a bit, and apart from Morata getting in, possibly onside, I haven't seen it again.
I think it was.
It was onside. Yeah. But I don't think we deserve to draw.
But I also think everyone stops.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that's so tight that you can't really complain either way, to be honest.
Yeah. No. I'm a big fan of give the attacker, even when it's against us. I think you have to give the attacker the benefit of the doubt, personally. And that's why I was kind of disappointed with VAR, which is what we'll get onto, I suppose, later. But, for me, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would have been upset right enough.
Yeah. Well, on decisions, there was a point in the first half where Chelsea got a free kick, and Atkinson blew for a free kick, and then didn't even bother.
Yeah, from 10 yards away. Yeah.
And then they nearly scored. I was livid. I can't believe no one made a bigger deal of that. There wasn't even a free kick that happened.
Yeah, but if we did it, we would be complaining, and we've done it before. We did it in the Champions League.
I think there's the difference between, you can do it kind of in your own half or when there's no threat, but I think it was in our final third on the left hand side. It wasn't like some non-consequential part of the pitch, where a defender was just kind of taking it 5 or 6 yards away. It was a good 10 yards away, and it was a quick free kick, and he hadn't blown the whistle, and it was just right.
It was absolutely bizarre. But so yeah, we won the game 2-1. A big win for United. Big win for Jose. Especially, I would have said, getting one over his old mate Conte, and a big win for us in our top four. I hate saying top four ambitions. Sounds so shit.
It's a tragic sentence.
It's horrible, but yeah, it's a big win for United anyway. Colm, I know you love Jose. I know you want his babies.
He's Wayne Rooney more.
Can he feel? Yeah, can he feel some sort of vindication in this result?
Well, the first thing I'll say is you clearly haven't been listening to podcasts that you're not on, because the worm has been turning. I've been very, very just a bit fed up with our brand of football and the fact that it's not clicking.
That's why I was being sarcastic.
Oh, right. No, I just think there's no one else, and I do think it's still a tough job. I think, and I was just wanted to touch on this point about, I mentioned earlier that we've been basically giving possession away, and I know that's a very Mourinho-esque kind of thing to do, in that he believes that when the opponent has the ball, they're at the point of danger, which is quite contrary to how 90% of humans view football. Because as opposed to thinking we have the ball, we'll play beautiful football and score, he thinks they have the ball, one of them will slip or make a mistake, we'll get in and punish them, which is interesting and quite cool. And I'm not sure, he relies on it 1,000,000%, as some people would have you believe, but it's certainly part of his ethos. And you can see that in the fact that Huddersfield had something like 56% possession against us and had 25 shots to our 8 and more on target out of that. Sevilla had 20 odd shots to our 1 on target, and certainly dominated the ball. Chelsea had more possession and I think about equal shots, and that's not uncommon. And Huddersfield, outplaying us, fair enough at Huddersfield, but Huddersfield, and I just think, to me, I don't love that, but I think it also must be very difficult for these players. You've gone from Moyes' lack of plan, Van Gaal's ultra possession, and now Mourinho's don't have possession and don't have the slow build up. So it's not surprising. Sometimes I think that we do get sometimes maybe a bit boring, or we lack ideas or we lack cohesion. And I think that will still come, but I'm more than happy to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think Sevilla the next round, and our progress in the Champions League is going to be a big indicator, because I was very disappointed with the first leg, I have to say. I think when you watch, did anyone watch the Juve Spurs leg?
No.
Yes.
Brilliant game of football. Two very good teams, and Spurs went there and dominated them, and Juventus hit them really well on the counter, and it was just a very good game of football. And I was just sat thinking, Christ, we never play like that. Like either of those teams are playing, and we would fall apart under this kind of pressure that they're just rising to. And I know, they got a better draw than us, and Sevilla are no mugs, but to me, we could come a cropper here in the Champions League, and I think it would be a pretty, it could really end the season with a bit of a whimper, I suppose.
Well, we were on Sevilla then. Let's move on to that game. 0-0 away in Spain in the first leg. The ties at half time. Jose went there with a plan, it seemed. A plan was, don't concede. Maybe nick a goal if you can. If not, doesn't really matter. We'll do them at Old Trafford. And it was, I know there was a lot of ire after the game and a lot of complaints about our approach, but what I will say is, from minute 5, I could tell what our plan was. Like, we went there with a clear plan, and we executed that plan, and we got it. Now, you can have problems with a plan, problems with the idea of going to Sevilla and getting a draw. This is a team who haven't lost like a European tie at their ground for however long, I think. I read a stat. It's been a long time since they lost a tie at their ground.
Three Europa Cup finals in 4 years, something like that.
So they're no mugs. They're not great in the Liga, but they've done all right in cup competitions. But yeah, you could have arguments with the plan, but the actual execution of it was exactly how Jose wanted. So to that end, Craig, can we really analyze it from two perspectives? Was the plan the wrong plan? But considering the plan it was it fine?
Wonderfully framed question.
Yeah.
I do, in a way, believe it was the wrong plan because of my preference as to how we should play. Whereas I do think that some teams we should go attacking. But then from the side of Sevilla have scored in like every game for a long time, or at home rather, and like you said, they have lost at home in Europe for a long time. I do think it was the right plan, because we don't want to go into Old Trafford with too much pressure. With a 0-0 there is some pressure, but it's a lot easier to nick the win at home than it is to try and nick the win from behind.
It just makes it a cup final for me, which I'm always a bit hesitant about.
Yeah, I think with a bit more aggression we could have nicked a goal at Sevilla, and
I have no issue with. I think exactly what Imran says is right in terms of the way we set up, and some stats which really bear out Jose's thinking. 5 of United's past 7 away games in Spain have ended goalless, like no goal for anyone. So it's not just a new thing that he's trying, it's something that we've historically done. It was our 9th clean sheet in 11 matches and 23rd in all competitions, that's 3 more than anyone else in the Premier League. Really, really positive in terms of our defensive record, which you wouldn't believe given the clampets we're starting in central defence. And also, we've historically drawn 22 matches in the Champions League where no one has scored a goal, which is the top of anyone, which we share with AC Milan, famous Italian anti-football team. So all those stats, well, apart from the one about this year and us being really good at the back, predate Mourinho. So it's not a new thing that Mourinho's decided to go and try that's just specific to Mourinho. Whereas I think people get caught up and say, oh God, I long for the days of Fergie's gung-ho attack, go 3-0 down and win 4-3 football, because you're taking a few instances out of a 26-year career and extrapolating them as if it was the norm, and that's not the case. There's a reason why we share that record with AC Milan as the most amount of goalless draws in the Champions League ever. It's because we are often very pragmatic in Europe, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. My big issue was be pragmatic, be very tight, but hit them on the break, have the quality to do something. We had one shot on target in 90 minutes of football. And I know that's where I stopped blaming Mourinho, because I think his approach was correct. Maybe there's a coaching motivation or a kind of a attacking cohesion issue there that maybe is his coaching issue. But for me, Sanchez, Martial, Rashford, Mata and Lukaku, they shoulder that responsibility, because you can have 8 players out of your 11 being very tight and doing the job. Although I don't think we really did, because a better team than Sevilla would probably score 4 that night. You know, I think we were lucky to get the 0-0 draw in this instance. But you have to offer some threat. You have to be able to string something together in terms of a counter-attack. And that's why I said at the start of the pod, we do this thing where we're a counter-attacking team. But have we scored a good counter-attacking goal this year? Maybe 1 or 2, you know?
Huddersfield's the only ones I can think of.
Yeah, and maybe that's just recent memory, but we don't really seem to be knitting together in the kind of explosive counter-attacking football that our defensive kind of setup would indicate that we're going for, you know? And that's my issue. And I do think it's a matter of time and just a bit of a poor patch, but ultimately not a big issue. You know, that's my kind of takeaway. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom or anyone has to go, but I'm just saying that that's what I see on the pitch, you know?
I did...
Yeah, I'll tell you what's in... Oh, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, I did think there were signs of Sanchez and Lukaku striking up a decent partnership in the Sevilla game.
I agree. I've seen a few balls from Sanchez over to Lukaku, and I think that's just, again, Sanchez finding his feet in a very difficult move and a very exposure move, and the exact same with Lukaku, settling in and just being a bit more demanding in the balls he wants and the runs he makes.
One thing I find a bit interesting, I don't know whether interesting is the right word, but from all the Champions League ties, it seemed like ours was the one that was like an old-fashioned Champions League tie. Like you see, like PSG go to Madrid and they've gone there to win.
Yeah.
Spurs go to Juventus to win. Yeah. Liverpool and City obviously smashed weaker opposition, but Barcelona go to Chelsea to win, or to play the Barcelona way. Whereas we were the only team really who went to a tricky away tie in Champions League, and much like Fergie would be very pragmatic and assess it as like a game that's played over 2 legs. I thought that was quite interesting, and maybe a lot of the complaints about the game is the fact that maybe football is shifting now to these games they're not seen as 2-legged, be cagey, win them at home ties. They're more like let's just win every single game kind of thing that a lot of teams seem to be going for. So I don't know whether that's the shift or just because that's how teams want to play these days, but I thought it kind of interesting.
And it is, because you see like Liverpool go and spank at teams, and it's just like, when was it ever so easy? Like, and I don't believe it's the top quality of Premier League suddenly shining through. As much as I think we are on the up as opposed to like the last few years, I don't think it's just that. I think we have kind of re-entered a kind of tactical naivety stage, or a more attack-prone football in general. And I suppose Juve would be the counter to that. They're very, I suppose they play quite similarly to us, but it is odd. But it just puts a lot on this second leg, which is obviously at home, and that's good. But you can't help but feel like if we go out, it'll be you'll look back at that game and think, well, that was a disaster.
But our home form this season is excellent. We've lost 1 game to Man City, a game which we could have easily drawn. Even though we weren't the best, I'm not saying we were good in that game or anything, but we had a big chance towards the end to snatch the draw. Other than that, we've not lost a single game at home. A couple of dodgy draws over the Christmas period, but otherwise we are very good at home. I think we're actually a bit underrated at home. In a way, like this Chelsea game was coming up and people weren't sure about it, but I was thinking I always fancy us at home against anyone, and Sevilla will come there, and I just can't. Like, they're terrible away, terrible on the road in Europe, especially, and I just can't see them beating us on our own patch. Obviously, anything can happen in a game of football. You could have a man sent off, or no decisions could go your way, whatever. But really, I'd find it hard to see we don't beat Sevilla and progress. And at that point, will Mourinho be vindicated? Possibly. He'll feel like he is if we win the tie. That's all people seem to remember with Mourinho, his wins. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think if he gets the win immediately, 100%. And, that's his prerogative. And, history will obviously decide, but if we go through, I'll forget about it. I don't care, But then you just have to think about the next game. So if we go through, say we do Sevilla 2-1, 3-1, whatever, comfortable win, great. And then we go through and we draw PSG, Real. I know it's a totally different game, so he sets up a totally different way. But Sevilla had, literally 20 chances. And if you give a team better than Sevilla those same chances, David De Gea will not be able to save you. As good as he was that night, Sevilla should have scored 2 or 3 goals, and we're extremely unfortunate not to.
I don't think he was that good that night. He made one incredible save, amazing save. Yeah. I don't care if people say, I should put it in the corner.
I thought there was 2. There was one looping over him just in before that sequence, which I think is also a great save.
That was like the Courtois save from Lukaku. Quite similar.
Which is a great save, an unbelievable save. Actually, I think Courtois is a better save. Because Lukaku's is so unexpected, and actually he gets really good purchase on it as well, whereas that header was looping,
What I would say is it's a save that a lot of top keepers make, but that De Gea save from the header is a save that very few... you see that goal all the time. The guy comes in, runs in, bullets a header close to the keeper. Yeah. It's past him before he dives. It's quite a common goal. Juan Mata patent, but it's just an incredible save. Ed, tell me something nice about De Gea's save.
It was good. I don't remember it.
That's great. That's it. That's all we'll do. It's good.
No. It was a good save. Solid.
It was an average De Gea save.
Oh God, I don't remember that game anymore.
Well, okay,
it was a Muriel header from about 4. He was on the 6-yard box and he put it slightly to his right. But I have to say, if he puts it even a yard, even more, and I think he should. I know you're just getting your head on it and you're just heading to the goal and you're heading it like a steam train, so you don't expect the keeper to get anything on it. But he could put that chance away and De Gea would have no chance. That's my point, is that
he would.
The chances we conceded to them, by all rights, we should have lost that game. So you can't say it's a good defensive masterclass when we concede 20 chances.
No. 9 times out of 10, though, that header goes in, and that's what I'm saying. That's the De Gea difference, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm more optimistic about when we face bigger Champions League opposition, though. I think we'd have it in our minds that they are better and we can't afford those chances.
Yeah, there probably is something in that. It's just damning.
So that's coming up at Old Trafford in a few weeks. We've got Palace and Liverpool before them, but we'll get to those games. Just after we quickly touch on the Huddersfield game, we're into the next round of the FA Cup. We've got Brighton at home. Game at the John Smiths now, right? God, I can't keep track of that stadium's name changes. A stadium we lost at earlier this season, which might have informed Jose's approach in this game. Earlier in the season, Huddersfield caught us cold with 2 goals and then just sat back. Jose probably didn't want that to happen this time and didn't even allow us to get caught at all. As Colm said, we surrendered all the possession.
Yeah.
I actually went to this game. I was sat in the Huddersfield end. Actually, really nice seats. It's quite nice to go into a small stadium and just have really good seats that are quite close to the pitch. But
OT problems.
Yeah, Stretford and Tier 2 problems. The town fans were pretty upset by the ref, giving us a lot of decisions. Other than that, I think they pretty much accepted that wasn't the game for them to win. Probably quite a lot of them were quite happy to go out so they could concentrate on their relegation fight. It was a good win, I thought. Really, 2 nice counter-attacking goals. Lukaku scored them. Blah blah blah. Let's all talk about VAR because that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, VAR.
Yeah, VAR. Juan Mata scored a goal.
What a goal as well. How well does Juan Mata do?
A lovely goal, and then he was called offside by VAR via his shin.
Yeah. Well, his kneecap, isn't it?
His kneecap.
Yeah.
Kneecap, yes. I didn't do anatomy at school. So now, I thought at the time it was ridiculous because I was under the impression that VAR was only meant to correct obvious mistakes. But then I think I've heard since that offsides are the exception because that's clear cut and therefore offsides are yes or no with VAR.
It's not clear cut though because there's so much room for interpretation.
Well, no, his knee is offside.
But so how?
So that's offside.
So, if an attacker, like with the Morata goal that was disallowed, he's onside, but Lindelof is moving forward, so the attacker's got the advantage there, but he's technically onside.
Yes, but that's not the rule.
No, I know, but I just think the offside rule should be the player should be clearly offside, so there's a bodies difference, and then you.
No,
That's a different discussion, though. That's
Yeah,
a different
it is a
discussion.
different
No, I can see the argument, but that's a different discussion entirely.
But it would get rid of
the
these
rule
arguments.
Go on.
That's my point.
Well, I mean, you can get rid of these arguments by just scrapping VAR, really, because
Well-
which I'm actually personally, that's my stance.
because the way I saw that goal was now imagine a world where there was no VAR in that game and Juan Mata scored that goal. Would anyone complain about it afterwards?
No.
I don't even I've got a lot of my friends support Huddersfield, and I asked them, and like they said, no. If that had been a goal, you'd have just thought we should have defended a bit better.
Yeah.
Like no one would have cared. It's created basically a moment out of nothing.
Yeah. That didn't previously exist. Yeah. Also, I think
Yeah.
even if say you think Matt is offside, and say for sake of argument he's half a yard further forward than he is that not just part of football? You know, do we really want this clinical, sterile, unemotional video robot determining how we enjoy our football? Personally, no. Even when results go against us, I think that's part of football. And I think you can look at rugby and you can point at rugby and you can look at blood subs and you can look at injured players staying on the pitch and us playing around them. You can look at video referees and technology. You can look at the respect that the referee has and the command he has of the players. And that's all great, but that's rugby. And it just doesn't work in football. And the only thing Huddersfield proved, and I get it's early days and it's teething process, it was shambolic. I was on the floor laughing. I was weeping tears at how bendy the lines were and how someone in the world thought that was a good thing to show millions of people about your new product. It was laughable. It was outrageous. It beggared belief. It was hilarious. The results on Twitter of people, just taking the absolute clean hand out of it, going into MS Paint and drawing more respectable looking straight lines was just hilarious. So I'll be thankful for that moment because I will remember that. It was my favourite part of what was quite, in my opinion, a boring game. But
I didn't even get that moment. I was in the ground and just
exactly.
waiting for.
You're just sat there
for 2 minutes.
You may go out and get a beer. Yeah, it's a total waste of time. It was not fluid. It was not quick. It was not correct. Well, maybe it was correct, but I think they've got away with that one basically. And it was embarrassing, frankly. And I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see 2 or 3 minute breaks. In a game of football, so that we can so we can determine that someone's kneecap is offside, and then actually think that's actually offside, as if Mata does anyone think he's gained an advantage? It's because he's running forward as an attacker, and the defender's running the other way. There's no advantage from his kneecap. It's taken the rule to an unrealistic and nth degree. I just think that's so unnecessary. I like bad decisions. It gives us all something to talk about. How boring would this podcast be if we were talking about the curling at the Winter Olympics? Football's football. Let it be.
I mean, 2 things. One, does anyone actually believe? Afterwards, that squiggly line image, they said, "Oh no, that wasn't the image."
So why put it up there?
Does anyone believe? I do not believe for a second that wasn't the image. Because where did it come from? I don't believe it for a second.
In 20 years' time, someone's going to write an autobiography that's going to really open the lid on what happened that night. But until then, I'd say that secret will be locked down tighter than something in Fort Knox. I just can't understand. If that is the line you were using, first of all, why? If it isn't, why give us it? No answer makes sense.
Well, here's the thing: if you have to, at one point, I saw after the game, they said. We took a video of the actual screen that they were looking at the real time. I was like, no, you didn't. Yeah. No one was there at the time filming VAR at that moment, filming them looking at a screen. So at that point, they clearly
had made that up. Yeah, and also Sky were kind of or I think it was BT actually. It was on, and they were kind of well, kind of embarrassingly, but here's our lines that we use, and they drew up perfect blue lines that showed clearly that it was onside, and you were kind of just if it was so easy for BT, so easy, they just had it ready. And they were kind of showing the image that VAR gave and then their own image, and you were just this is, this is embarrassing. It was just embarrassing. Yeah. It was hilarious. But it was a great week finish. I felt so sad for Mata because he does so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think whoever was in charge of VAR that day was clearly off their face drunk.
Yeah.
Was it you?
It was Craig after a heavy loss.
I would have done the line the other way, so Mata was definitely onside.
Yeah.
But it honestly looked like one of those pictures that the Real Madrid and Barcelona fans do when they want to screw with the ideal one or the other, where they show that the player was offside or onside.
Tinfoil hat conspiracy theory.
They Photoshop a man out of the picture. But the thing is, with offside, I think VAR should just leave offsides alone until we have technology where you can put sensors on every player, and it becomes very much like there is some electronic wall that follows players around, and they can definitely call offsides like they would with a ball definitely crossing the line. Just leave it alone.
Yeah,
that'd be the day I stop watching football.
I know.
Offside's one of the actual rules in football that's clear cut. Like, this is offside, this isn't offside. So until they can actually like the ball crossing the line, so until they can actually electronically sort that out and do it instantly, then just leave it alone. Leave football alone. Football's great.
Yeah.
Change is bad, etc. Let's move on. So from now on, we've got Crystal Palace away next weekend. Crystal Palace just lost to Spurs 1-0. They tried to keep it tight, defended, didn't really do much going forward. This is just, I'm assuming, I haven't watched the game at all, I haven't seen any highlights, I'm just assuming this is what happened. And then Harry Kane scored a goal at the end. Again, I'm just assuming that happened. No, I actually do know that happened.
That is what happened, yeah.
Don't forget Dele Alli dived again.
Oh, yeah. I assume that's correct. That sounds like something that happened in that game.
I mean, it's Dele Alli. You could tell me he dived in front of an old lady and accused her of pushing him, and everyone would believe it.
Sounds about right. So apparently Sergio Aurier did 3 foul throws in that game.
Yeah,
impressive.
Antonio Valencia is probably pointing at that and laughing, how do you not get away with it?
Yeah.
After the Palace, so let's pretend we talked about the Palace game for a bit. Yeah, we might win, whatever. Let's get to the Liverpool game, because that's really what we all want to talk about. Liverpool at home, a huge game for our, let's say it again, top 4 ambitions. Liverpool come here will probably come to us in great form, having been progressed in the Champions League just before the game. They've got their front three of Firmino, Salah and Mane firing on all cylinders. They're the best team in the world, says everyone. Oh, they're amazing. They're second best team in the league, even though they're actually not second, etc., etc., etc. Ed, how much are we going to beat them by?
5.
5? Jesus.
No, I hate these games. It's the one game I don't look forward to, because form goes out the window. It'll be a cagey affair where neither team really does anything, and one of us might nick a goal. But the likelihood it'll be either 0-0 or 1-1.
Fair enough.
Probably depressingly accurate there.
Yeah.
Craig, are you worried about their front three, especially Salah, who is probably the player of the season? Let's not do that, guys.
Let's not debase ourselves.
It's ridiculously catchy, though.
It is.
It's like I couldn't get it out of my head for a week afterwards. Seriously, and I'm gonna have it in my head for another week now.
Stop going around singing Liverpool songs. This is disgusting. Craig, please tell me how much we're going to be. No, seriously, are you actually are you worried about the front three?
I mean, a little bit, but not too much. We're at home, and they're twats, and I hate them, and I hope they all slip on black ice in the car park and
stub their toes.
Yeah. Mess up their manicures, especially in Firmino's case. No, I mean, they can be a threat, but to be honest, I think we'll have it covered. I mean, they couldn't get past us at Anfield, so I don't think they'll get past us at Old Trafford.
Well, Colm, your man Mourinho's surely going to go defensive on this one.
I would think so, yeah. I think it'll be a Scott McTominay masterclass of man marking. No, I'd go for the 3 in midfield again. I'm nearly sure you want to protect that back line. We've looked really, really ropey. The good thing is the Bailly played, maybe 20 minutes there? Did he even get 20 minutes? So that's encouraging, because recently our entire back line has been having some sort of competition to see who can, put David De Gea in more and more trouble. No one really convinces me. Chris Smalling's like a great last-ditch defender, but that's not what Manchester United need, I don't think. And I never want to be too harsh on him, because I do like him, but I just don't see either of them really cutting the mustard. I always think one of them, you can have one of them, but they need someone established and someone authoritative and someone quality beside them. And when you put the two of them together, it just always ends up in calamity. So I would be quite worried if that's
because they're both a bit thick.
I don't know what it is, Imran, but they're like Smalling had a full season where he was a beast, he was a demon, he was doing everything. He was the best centre back in the league. And it's just deserted him for now 2 or 3 seasons. I don't understand, Phil Jones.
I'm sick of Smalling. I'm absolutely
sick of both of them. And I hate to say that because I don't like to ever, if a player's trying their best and that, then they deserve that. But I think there is a certain amount of time. I can't believe how long they've both been at the club and still are starting centre backs. And
yeah.
Lindelof obviously got a show of confidence there against Chelsea and did pretty well. I thought he was pretty poor for the first goal, but apart from that, he was grand. But I don't see him getting the nod against Liverpool. So it just puts a wee bit of trepidation in there for me. But it's one of those games that it's not even worthwhile predicting. You just have to go and see what happens. But it's a big game because it's gotten so tight now. Our top 4 aspirations. Our Chelsea was a massive result, but we're still what is it, 3 ahead or 2 ahead of Liverpool?
Of Liverpool, we're 2 ahead of Chelsea. We're 5 or 6 ahead,
6.
something like that. Yeah.
And Spurs 5, I think. Yeah, numbers. So it's nip and tuck, and I don't want to give up second spot to Liverpool. So there's quite a lot riding on it, and Liverpool have quite an easy run in now. They've played the most out of the top 6. We still have places to go and City and stuff like that. So, it's a big game, no doubt.
Yeah. We were remiss, obviously. There's their attack, but like their defence can be got at. Even in a big win against West Ham, they still managed to let Mikel Antonio score a goal.
Yeah.
I can fully see Mourinho making killing the first 20-30 minutes of the game completely, just making it into a dour affair, and then maybe afterwards we might look to attack because their defence can be gotten at. We can create some chances if we go for it, but we're not going to turn this into a boxing match, punch for punch. So no. I don't know. It could go anyway. We'll go back to the beginning of this preview and probably write with a 1-1, 0-0 draw kind of thing. Stink the place out, but it's probably not the worst. A draw is probably not the worst result, but it would be great to beat them.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? Now McTominay has had his big starts against Sevilla, big start against Chelsea. Will Jose trust McTominay in a game like Liverpool now, and is he worth the start in such a game?
I don't see why he shouldn't. I think Seville and Chelsea were perhaps, in a sense, bigger games for him because they were his first being trusted in those positions. And now that he's sort of got that experience behind him, he'd be far more comfortable doing it against Liverpool than he would have been without them.
Did you see his post-match interview after Chelsea?
Yeah, he said the same word about 5 times.
He also answered each question with ruthless efficiency and aggression. It was hilarious. Like Lukaku was there. Lukaku's quite softly spoken and seems very intelligent as well, and just is very. It just comes off really well, I think, and gives really good answers that aren't just generic, but are quite well thought out. He doesn't take pressure on himself or anything like that. And then McTominay was just like, this, yes. So and it was just brilliant. And I just think I'm so impressed with his character. There's a lot of comparisons drawn to Darren Fletcher, and obviously Fergie was a big fan of McTominay, and he's been at the club for probably longer than anyone else in our first team, actually, ironically. But he just takes everything in stride, and he is limited in some ways technically. And although I still think for a 21-year-old, you're making their assumptions really that are going to be perhaps proven to be totally false. Because
I'm still not sure what he excels at though.
I know, but what he excels at is being ice cold and just an absolute legend. Pretty much, I don't really know either. It's not passing, although the passing is by no means bad. He's a 7 out of 10 at everything, and he seems like a very great head, on his shoulders in terms of his temperament. His reading of the game, he scans constantly. His positional awareness is very, 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 very good, and barring the Chelsea goal, and I'm so impressed with him. I'm so happy to see it, and I think it's a real feather in Mourinho's cap, because a lot of people would never have expected that for Rashford, for Lingard, for McTominay, and others, so it really is, I think, really good. And I have no issue with the way Herrera has dropped off a cliff this year. I have no issue him starting almost every game. I still think we need to buy centre midfielders in the summer. Don't get me wrong, 1 star, if not 2 players really. But that doesn't mean anything for McTominay. He's doing a great job. I also think Matic needs the legs beside him.
I think it's made Pereira look a bit of a fool by going away to, is it Valencia?
I don't know about that.
I think they're just very different kind of players. I think Pereira's made very good choices for his career and will have a career. I don't actually think it'll be United because I don't think he's done enough at Valencia, but I think he made the right decision in the same way I think it was right for Pogba to go Juve and all the rest of it. It's for some players it works out and some players it doesn't, but you can't just look at one because they're totally different kinds of players. And I don't think Mourinho would have trusted him the way he trusts McTominay. McTominay is a certain kind of player, a build of player, a style of player that Mourinho really buys into. So he's been very fortuitous that another manager, I don't think you see McTominay in this squad.
I'm just not sure he won't go the way of Darren Gibson myself. I'm not sure. Maybe more Gibson than Fletcher, but Gibson also had his hard shot to hang his hat on. McTominay needs one of them, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I can definitely see him starting in that game. And you are right. Matic's best game in a shirt was against Chelsea, and it came with McTominay right next to him. So maybe that's something to look at. But yeah, anything else on the Liverpool game? Anything else really? It's like I said, it's a derby. It's hard to really see how it goes. All we can anticipate is just quite a tight game at Old Trafford.
It's just a nervy thing, it's one of those things. And you hear Gary Neville and Carragher talking about it, and Gary Neville was like, it was just a game to get out of the way, honestly. It was just horrible. And Wayne Rooney obviously said the same. He was on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago, and I thought it was quite good just to make this podcast about Wayne Rooney, even though when he has nothing to do with the club anymore. But it's just one of those games you just want to forget about. I just wanted to be over it, and I would take a draw right now.
Anyone else take a draw right now?
I think I would, yeah.
No, I can't. I'm really being Nick today. I'm embodying Nick. All right, guys, I think we'll win.
It's not bad.
Thanks. Been working on that one. So I think our record at Old Trafford is decent enough. I think we might nick it. But then if we lose, I'm going to be mortified. So yeah, that'll bring us to the end of United Hour. We'll probably be back after that Liverpool game, I imagine. Could be a dour one, so I might not be here. Until then, say goodbye, everyone.
Cheerio.
Good night.
Bye.
Cheers.